So recently, I turned 22, which was an interesting thing because I remember being 18 when I had just first gone to university, and there was a guy who was on my course who was 22, and I remember being like, "That's way too old to be starting a uni course or whatever." I remember thinking he was so old, and then it goes pretty quickly, 18 to 22, and I wanted to make this video because kind of been reflecting on my life and maybe some of the wrong things that I've done so far, and maybe how I can try and not do that in the future. Um, I would say, yeah, when I was 18, I was very, despite 18 not feeling that long ago, I think when I was 18, I was a very different person. I think I was very optimistic. I think especially leaving school, and I thought like things would only get better. I'd gone from quite a suppressed environment at my school to where I was going to uni to do something I was really passionate about, which was music production. Um, anyway, cut to 2 years later, and I drop out because I'm failing, and I realize it's not what I want to do, and you know, it just kind of happens. You just realize that maybe you're not choosing the path that you thought you should be doing, and I think a lot of people feel the same way. But anyway, so after that was around when I was 20. Um, I moved to Italy because I was from England and my parents had moved to Italy. So I came here to move in with them and start a new life. And then I thought, I'll go to Italy and it'll be perfect and I'll have this amazing life, and I'll just figure out what I want to do, and and now I'm 22 and I've been here 2 years now, and well, first thing, there were a lot of things I didn't think about, like when you move somewhere new and creating a new life and having to learn the language and stuff, and um, I I'm now in a position where I've been here and really failed to make any kind of progress in my life. I've had a few kind of jobs and they've not gone well, and I've tried to create music and create art and release it, and obviously, you know, um, that's a very difficult thing to do, and you have to be very talented and to succeed at something like that, which I guess I would admit now I'm probably not. um, I think what I've really learned from 18 to 22 is that, first of all, I mean, it sounds obvious, but you know, it's really like when you find yourself in a situation you don't think is, let's say, optimal. Yes, you should think about what, maybe changing, or like, I'm not saying it's good to stay doing something you don't like, but it's also very true that um, the grass is not always greener a lot of the time, and it really isn't. I think what I found was that when, every time I was coming up to like changing, like when I went from school to university and then from university to Italy, both times I was like, this is going to be perfect and everything is going to go exactly the way it should. And it really just doesn't happen that way. And I think for anyone who maybe is in a position where you think what you're doing is not good for you, I support you, and I agree that, if something doesn't feel right for you, then maybe you should think about doing something else. But also the realization that the other side is not just this oasis, and it's not this perfect realm. It can be as complicated as where you are now, if not more so. And certainly looking back now, me doing my university course, and it was really easy, and I could have just kept doing it, and obviously I would have finished by now, and there would be more problems. But yeah, I think that's really important to remember. I think the other thing that I've realized a lot recently is, an obvious one is that, it does go quickly, especially after, I would say, you turn 18. 2025 was short, and then 2026 now feels like, we're in June and it feels like it's been 2 months. I mean, it's really weird. And that adds more pressure, I would say, because, I'm in this position where I feel like I'm in a rut all the time trying to get out, and you get one step in front of the other, and then you go back, and then suddenly you realize you've taken 1 year to make one small step, and then it's easy to see how, when you get to 30, 40, 50, 60, how quick your life can go by and how little progress you can make. If And I think that that's where, a lot of resentment and feel like you've wasted your life is born. It's from, kind of just going with the wind in terms of your life and not really taking ownership, but kind of just, you know, going along with it like I have, and then realizing, shit, I'm not going to be young forever. Uh, I'm not always just going to be like potential. At one point it's going to be like, yeah, I'm 40 and I've done nothing, and that's terrifying. And maybe that's a good thing that's terrifying, because it makes you want to push more. But also, I think for me and for a lot of people, it actually makes it more debilitating, because you've got this pressure to succeed, especially in the way the world works, and it's all about like career and success, and yeah, I think you find it debilitating because you know what you should do and what is the optimal thing, but it's hard to do, and you're not a robot, you're a human, and yeah, so I definitely say that's the thing, like years going by very quickly, and you realize, when you see like a 50-year-old who's homeless or whatever, or is completely messed up and like still dealing with the same problems they had 30 years ago, like you realize how that could be possible. Whereas I think when you're a bit younger, you're like, this person must just be like a complete, idiot or whatever. But you realize that's very possible to happen to you in your life. Um, the other thing I would say, like, continuing from that, when you do feel like, you're getting a bit older and you haven't made success, it's very easy to be resentful and compare yourself to people, which is, it's so extremely hard not to compare yourself to others, because like for me, I wanted to be a musician or a music producer. I didn't really know, and then suddenly I see people 18, 19, 20 who are like becoming successful, and I'm still here at like square one. It's really easy at that point to go, well, like this person has done it and I haven't, and that's very that's very hard, because people are different, and that's not to say that you know I think people are different, and if you keep always comparing yourself to like this person has done this on this timeline, it's like it's really discouraging, and it makes me think, well, if I haven't had any success now, then I never will, so I might as well not try. And that's another thing I think about as well. Sorry, this was meant to be very like clear listed stuff, but I'm just kind of rambling now. Um, I think for me also, I've had a very like nihilistic and existential view of the world, and like anxious existential anxiety, thinking life means nothing and blah blah blah, which really doesn't help you either. Like, really, if you can, even if that's something you believe to be true, you should really try and avoid like thinking in that way all the time, because it really, if you believe that, it really manifests what you do on a day-to-day basis. And if I think, oh, nothing means anything, and it just like, I'm just gonna sit around all day and do nothing, which ultimately is a waste of the time I do have on Earth. And like, if I do think life means nothing, then I might as well just try and take advantage of it and do what I want and not be scared of consequences. But instead, what I actually do is just do nothing and just think, well, there's no point in trying hard, or there's no point in trying to succeed, because, at the end of the day, I'm going to die. But the truth is, like, you get to a bit older and you're like, well, I'm still alive, and, I'm kind of doing nothing, and it kind of sucks. So, maybe I should actually try and do something, which is what I'm starting to think now. But yeah, it's just, the main thing I think is just like the realness of life that hits you. It depends who you are, but it can, maybe for some people, that realness of life can hit earlier. But anyway, I don't know what this video is. This is my first YouTube video. I don't know. I just felt like making something to, I don't know, feel better about myself. Maybe like to help other people. I don't know. I'd love to chat with any of you online, your experiences of, life and stuff. And yeah, just praying that I can change things for the better. And yeah, thank you all for watching this mess of a video.